Hey everyone, Depressed Dior here with more Langrisser Mobile Apex. So, not much updated for the box itself. I'm still just trying to get people their star rankings up. I think MVP overall is probably Sharlinka, and I guess maybe a little bit of Angelina. Uh, Sharlinka just kind of does a lot of things that are kind of similar to what Angelina does, where I rush forward and get a free kill, and then I hang back in the back lines behind them, and they have to kind of deal for one way or the other. Overall, was a bit stressful because I was trying to get to Silver 1. Because the sooner I get to Gold 3, the sooner I can get higher tier arena chance. Also, I want the skin that's there, but unfortunately, I would win matches, and then I'll be a win away from getting the next rank, and I would just throw the match super hard. And it's mostly because of just dumb decisions on my part, and I just screwed things up. The other thing that's a little frustrating is the meta is very much in full force now, which is all about the AoEs and AoE debuffs. Ares is a problem, Rian's a problem. Rian's a problem for me in particular because I'm not using Liana. If I was using Liana or some other characters that have Dispel and things like that, I think Rian wouldn't be as bad. The biggest issue, the complaint I have with Rian is the fact his dots bypass fixed immunity, which is kind of bullshit, but that's okay. I also attempted one match where I didn't ban Juggler and I banned Ares instead because Ares is a problem as well. But Ares I can kill a lot easier than than Juggler. Juggler is just so annoying to deal with. So I learned my lesson, to say the least. The big issue is not necessarily Ares himself, but rather the follow-up AoEs that come with it. So as I go along, I eventually just start banning anything that has AoE, and just nullify their route that way. Anyway, they banned my my Estelle, and taking a look at their box, of course, you can see the annoyances. There's Ares, there's Arian Rod, there's Rian. Some of the single target characters I used to be a little bit afraid of, I'm not that concerned about anymore, so I'm kind of just playing it by ear. Anyway, I banned their Juggler. So despite my frustrations, I did get to use some characters I don't use very often, which is kind of nice. They banned my faction buffers, nothing new there. Got Landius as usual. I did run into one box that didn't have Juggler. One whole box. And they had a Lucia instead. Anyway, I banned their AoEs. So what tends to happen, if your opponent is someone that actually is fully embracing the AoE meta, they will probably not pick a tank. Instead, they will go straight for Ares and then start picking all their AoE. So if they do something like that, just start banning the rest of their AoE. Don't worry about banning their tanks, because that's the mistake I usually make, is I ban the rest of their tanks so they can't use tanks, but they don't need tanks. They just need to run up to you and blow you up. Anyway, as for the box itself, like I mentioned before, it kind of has just a mix of everything. It has 2 healers and a deedlit, it looks like. Oh no, it has 3 healers and a deedlit. And then a standard 2 tanks setup. Anyway, they left me with, since they banned Estelle first, they actually left me with a faction buffer, so I took Zerida. And I banned their deedlit and one of their healers just to force them to pick a healer next round. They didn't pick a healer, so I'm going to ban the rest of their healers. So now they have no healers, but they do have people that can self-heal. I did take Claret, so I have a lot of additional mobility. They were banning my healers as well, so I went ahead and took Lycoris. And they left me with Sharlinka and Rosalia. The other big issue I've been running into is Rosalia can't compete anymore. At 3 stars, she just does not do enough damage. Not only is her stats lower, but all of her fancy passives that are stackable are also heavily reduced. So yeah, I went with a weird kit with Lycoris here. I actually went faction buff, heal, and then mass protect. Really just to ensure that she has a buff on herself, because that does affect her heals. Standard stuff for Freya, she's just self-buffing. Claret, Sharlinka, and Zerida all have access to Obliterate. Now, a thing I failed to keep track of is Lycoris's buff does overlap Zerida's, and so that definitely can hurt me in some cases. Anyway, Assassin Zerida, Assassin Sholinka, long range Rush Claret. As for our opponents, we got Elowen, who's not really a threat to me anymore, especially with winged troops. Yusuke is a bit of a danger. I think that's part of the reason why I took Mass Protect for the the get immune to heal negation. Luna here has faction buff and Gale and Wind God Realm, all that. Yulia as usual, and then Landius is Landius. Alright, let's go ahead and get going. So the main thing I was keeping an eye on is measuring distance based off Luna, because Luna can expand everyone's movement. And I'm kind of just I'm kind of falling back, getting my buff set up, and figuring out where exactly I want to go. So I went ahead and measured out the distance, and I went all the way to here. I go first next round, so with this I can ensure that I get myself a kill. And I actually went straight for Yusuke. So that Yusuke was not holy, he was demon, so I didn't have to worry about my skeletons being debuffed or anything like that. And now, so I got my kill. Sholinka has a self-res, which does stun her, but it essentially forces them. I get the kill, and it forces them to kind of have to deal with Sholinka while I get myself my other characters set up. Obviously, I did not want to deal with Yusuke getting buffs for everything I killed, so that's why I killed him first. Yeah, pretty straightforward there. Even if Yusuke was holy, I would still attempt for the kill because Sholinka is sword, not demon. I think, yeah, I don't know what. I think he screwed up. I think he made a mistake. He forgot to do Wind God Realm, and so he wasn't getting the conversion from Luna's magic defense. So her attack was only 734, which just does nothing to Sholinka. It's either that or it was just a free hit that didn't cost her anything, but it did cost action, so I don't know what the plan there was. But I went ahead and used this as an opportunity to go ahead and rush Yulia. I was a little concerned about attacking Yulia because she does have self-heal, but without a TRS support, she doesn't heal enough. So I can actually kill her through her self-res. So that's what I did. And Yulia was kind of the only other character that can passively heal. So with this, the only person that has any sort of healing is Elowen's self-healing. Now, unfortunately, everyone else is kind of all out of the way at this point, but that's okay. Alright, took everything. It took 3 attacks to finish off Sholinka. Unfortunately, they go first. Just because of how the turns went. So we're back down to a 3-on-3. So at this point I'm measuring distance and keeping track of Wind God Realm because it hasn't been used yet. I'm not too concerned about Landius, but I need to be able to kill the others. And their Elowen has Breeze, and it procs very, very often, so it makes it very difficult to kind of position. So I'm popping the Bloodthirster just to kind of threaten them. And if they didn't come in range, I was just going to pull back and buff anyway. This is where I kind of made a mistake because Lycoris is going to overlap my Meteor buff. And I prefer the Meteor buff because it gives you a hit and run ability. Also, I believe you get more damage out of the meteor buff for Zerda simply because her attacks don't have long cooldowns. But I still get set up anyway. As you can see, the mist is closing in, so we're kind of... It's definitely gonna come down to a pretty dangerous finish here. So, go ahead and moved in. Take out Elwyn. Yeah. At this point, there's none of them can heal. Now, you can see from the damage scores, right now Vi is in the lead. Yep. So, Spine Raider, the Cursed Spirit actually did proc, but the anti-heal did not trigger because I had the defense buff up. So at this point, time's running out. I'm just trying to close in the time at this point. But spears do quite a bit to cavalry usually, so get some extra damage there. And of course I'm doing a bunch of fixed damage, so now I'm in the lead damage-wise. Also, since I never transformed with Lycoris because I didn't bring it, I'm placing a bunch of healing terrain, which is constantly removing debuffs and constantly healing each other. Anyway, my goal's not even to kill at this point. I have more damage, and they have no way of healing themselves. And they actually started passing turn. Now, I'm not sure if this person was thinking old school rules where the defender usually wins if timer runs out. But now it's based off damage, and I have higher damage. So I was just like, alright, I'll pass turn, and just let this pass. And yeah, my opponent just sat there and let me win. I do one more attack for good measure. And that's battle. So it actually shows a different little win screen. If you win this way, it'll actually show you the damage totals, and obviously the person with the higher damage actually wins. Okay. I'm trying to remember what some of these matches were. Alright, banning Juggler as usual. Let's see, it looks like there's no Ares, a few Assassins. Yeah, it's a box that doesn't anger me. We'll just say it that way. They went with 3 tanks, 1, 2, 3... It looks like 3 healers, no Deal-It. So that's a bit strange. Yeah. It seems to be 3 tank, 3 healer, which is not exactly a good setup, because it's just how the ban picks work. Anyway, our opponent banned Illustrial. Illustrial could be kind of dangerous on this map because of the mountains. You can actually kind of just run across them freely with her. One thing I did learn about Illustrial is her extra movement only happens across defensive terrain. It doesn't not particularly terrain that hinders you. So things like swamp and water doesn't actually give her extra movement, but mountains do. And they actually first picked Zerda, so I went ahead and, since there's no AoE concerns, I just banned all their tanks. So yeah, it looks like they're going full rush down at this point. I went ahead and banned their other assassin and got rid of Listel because it's Listel. They left me with Luna, and Luna actually has pretty good mobility, and she's also an archer, so she's got good range, so I went and brought her in. They actually went Young Jessica, so props to this person for actually using Young Jessica, so I brought out mine. They banned my other assassin, they got rid of Rosalia. Yeah, so I mentioned before, Rosalia just can't dish out the damage. In 2 different situations, I had her rush down a Zerida at full health, and I could not kill the Zerida. Hopefully that'll get better once she gets to 4 and 5 stars. Anyway, so my opponent didn't really go any healers either. I started banning their heal. Oh, they actually have 4 healers. Never mind. It's 3 tank, 4 healers. I missed Chloe there, but they didn't bother picking a healer, so I banned their healers. This person's all in on the offense, so I went ahead and grabbed Tiaras just to ensure that I can tank the hits and make sure I can maximize the amount of damage I do. Don't have my staple rushdown characters, so I went with Sophia. I don't remember why. I think it was just for I think it was maybe probably just for the rewind. She does have her exclusive item, so it does give her extra. I can also give extra defense, so that's kind of nice. Anyway, as for our opponent, single target young Jessica, support Yulia. Well, supporty as Yulia does get, but she has faith. Standard Claret, Bozal, buffing, debuff Bozal, and then assassin Zerida. And then for us, nothing too special. Actually, I'm just taking a look at what I could have done. I think I went ahead and stayed with the Queen's Decision buff, even though I don't need it, because I do have Power of Hope for this entire party, which would affect all of them. But I think I just went ahead and stuck with it just for the fixed damage. That or I just didn't pay attention. I don't remember which. Some of these battles were a bit of a blur. Anyway, my young Jessica is also single target. One thing you can definitely compare, you can take a look at the stats in comparison to each other, and you can tell that the biggest difference here is my troops. My troops have more HP and more attack, which is probably something I'm gradually catching up on, because it does make a huge difference, having all that extra HP and attack. Because you can only buff your main heroes so much with gear. Then it just comes down to your troops providing the extra oomph. So I wasn't sure. So they went ahead and opened with a Bloodthirster. I think it's just to ensure that she has no troops. So even if she doesn't have Bloodthirster active, she can still bypass guard and attack directly with the Mortal Blow or whatever it's called. What is that move called? Killing Blow, sorry. Alright. So main thing here, of course, is I'm measuring out distance, taking Claret's the biggest threat. Obviously the second threat is Zerida. So I'm measuring out all that distance. We also have to be careful about Bozal's AoEs. And Yulia could be pretty dangerous too, even though she has cavalry. So it's just all a big mess overall. Also, the young Jessica has about a 5 range with single target shots when she's in tank mode, so... or siege tank mode, rather. I'm kind of taking all that into account. I also transformed my young Jessica already. And we're just all buffed up and ready to go. And immediately go straight for the attack. Now, I think the biggest mistake... there's a lot of mistakes here. And not just the fact that she had decided to attack my Freya. But yeah, I just flat out killed their Claret. So, remember how I said the Zerida, well, the Bozal went with buff, and Zerida actually went without the faction buff. That means the Claret had no faction buff, which heavily reduced her damage output. You definitely want a faction buff on your Claret to take advantage of the double strike. She couldn't even double strike. She didn't even survive the exchange. That's how bad it was. Anyway, so once with Claret taken care of, I had a lot more flexibility at this point. I wasn't too concerned about being rushed down by any of these characters because Luna is heavily resistant to magic. So at this point I was like, alright, well I can go ahead and get my free kill on Yulia and then finish her off with some other attack later. I do have sharpshooters now, though to be honest, I eventually switched back to demon hunters, simply because of the debuff they provide. They both have the same attack. Sharpshooters have more health, but that's about it. And they're also good for tanking, but if I have to tank with Luna, I've probably already lost. I think it was around this point, just prior to getting the kill with Tiaras, I believe my opponent sent a little emoji that said "hurry up." So I just went for the kill with Tiaras. I had 2 healers, so I was like, I can spare one. Use it to finish off their Yulia. They got their kill finally with Zerida, but at this point, they don't really have. They gave up soon after that. At that point, there was just nothing they could have done. My Luna outranges their Zerida. They have no heals besides Young Jessica's self-healing. My Young Jessica would probably be able to take on theirs easily. It was just a pretty quick match. Anyway, I'll probably call it here, and I'll introduce the rest of the matches in a different video. So see you guys in a bit.